Everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from the Challenge Championship and the Collins Cup. We're brought to you by Master Spas, Hyperice, Form Smart Swim Goggles, UCAN, HOKA One One, Class USA, and of course our Challenge Athletes Foundation. A gentleman who's been on a little bit of a roll this year, Mr. Justin Metzler, joins us. How's it going, bud?
Going great. Thanks for having me, Bob.
My neighbor. You were Glenview. I was Wilmette growing up.
Exactly. Yeah. Not much of a Chicago guy anymore. I'm based in Boulder, but originally, born and raised in Glenview, Illinois, just outside of Chicago.
So when I look at this year, 2021, 5th at Boulder, 70.3, 14th at St. George, you were 9th at Galveston, and more importantly, 2nd at Ironman Coeur d'Alene.
Correct, yeah.
When you talk about you're a big guy, and it was hotter than crap out there for that entire day, and you just managed things really, really well because you look great.
Yeah, I mean, Coeur d'Alene was definitely a lifetime breakthrough performance for me, and it opened a lot of doors for this season.
Yes.
I think the number one thing being I qualified for Kona, the
Right.
first Kona that I've qualified for as a professional. I never did it as an age group or anything, but
Right.
that's been kind of a lifelong dream for me to qualify for Kona. And then on top of that, it opened up a bunch of different avenues, for example, this one. So I think that put my name on the radar for a lot of people. I
Yes.
think people have heard of me in the shadows for many years just because I've been around. I've been racing professionally since 2014. So I think I've got something like 60 professional races under my belt. I'm only 28, but I've been doing it quite a while. And it's taken me up until this point to, I guess, have a little bit more of an established career. And something like Coeur d'Alene, I guess, proved what all that hard work was about.
So, but you were into this sport when you were younger, right? Didn't
Correct.
you have posters on your wall of some of your heroes?
Yeah, so my dad was racing Ironman when I was a kid.
Okay.
He started doing triathlons in 2007. And
Okay.
then, so he was doing...
So we're talking Craig Alexander, Chris McCormick,
Exactly.
Chrissy Wellington.
100%. Yeah. And like at the time, I had an idol in Taborn Sindebal.
Oh, yeah.
The big Great Dane.
Thunder Bear.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was one of them. And then a guy like Matty Reed, he was a big idol of mine.
Because these were big guys.
These were big dudes. And so like I grew up playing basketball just
Right.
because of my size.
Right.
I'm 6'4", so I really wanted to be a shooting guard in the NBA. But I realized I was like, wow, I actually am pretty slow. And so I said, wow, I think I can actually go longer. I can't go much quicker. And so when I went to high school and I kind of fizzled out of basketball, my dad was racing Ironman, and I always had this lifelong dream of being a professional basketball player. And he said to me, why don't you just come and do a triathlon? It wasn't really a matter of, hey, come and be pro. I mean,
Right.
At the time we were super slow, but it was just something to do with my dad, gave me some identity. And then from there, I really got passionate about it and kind of took it and ran.
So when you get into triathlon that young, did you then, I'm going to run cross country, I'm going to run track, I'm going to start swimming?
Yeah, it was really about triathlon for me.
All of it, yeah.
It was all about triathlon. Yeah, I did track and cross country, but it was mostly as a supplement to my
Right.
Triathlon career. So I would race triathlon all summer, and then I would do cross country when school started,
Yeah.
and then I would do the indoor track season, but in preparation for triathlon season. And when
Right.
triathlon season picked up in like April, May,
You stopped no track.
I didn't do outdoor track. So
Yeah.
I would do like one or two meets. But like I was not very quick in high school. I really was just I was more of like a completion guy than I was like a competition dude. And I always wanted to go long. So I did my first half Ironman when I was 15.
Oh my God, that is child abuse.
Yeah, it was really my own volition. My parents were like, don't. And I was like, I have to. I just wanted to do it. And I was just training with my dad and all of his friends who were racing Ironmans. And I just was so mesmerized by the idea of racing an Ironman.
Which one did you do?
A Racine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Spirit of Racine before it was an Ironman event.
Yep.
And so, I just got really, really motivated by that, and Kona was it for me. So I had posters of Julie Dibbins, Tim O'Donnell, who are now two of my like advisors and close friends,
Right.
which is a trip for me. Obviously, Craig Alexander, when he won the race, must have been about 2010 when he's holding it up with
2007, 2008, 2009, and
Yeah.
then 2011.
Right. So I think it was 2009 when he had the Orbea Interbang sponsorship, and he's all muscled out, and you really, I picture that often,
Yes.
that moment. And so, qualifying for Kona at Coeur d'Alene was like a pretty big emotional moment for me, just having dreamt about it for 15 years.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, your wife Jeannie has had a phenomenal year, second at St. George.
Correct, yeah.
And just she's been kicking butt as well.
Yeah, I mean, Team Metzler, this is the first year where you've got dual Metzlers out there on course. She was Seymour up until that point. And then, so now we've got two to represent. And I think, I think the pro triathlon couple is, it's pretty common, I'd say. This is such an intense sport. It consumes your life.
Absolutely.
I think you find
other people wouldn't understand it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think Jeannie and I both, when we got together, it was the first time someone understood who we were. And
it's so funny. I was telling Jeannie that we did this film called We Are Triathletes. And one of my favorite lines in the film is Marinda Carfrae when we're interviewing her. And she says, a lot of the triathletes, that one of them is a triathlete and the other one is sort of the Sherpa, like Gwen Jorgensen or her husband Patrick. Says, the problem in our household, and yours is the same, is we don't really have a wife. We don't 100%. Have that person to dote on you because we come back and we're totally wiped out. And then who's making dinner? Who's cleaning the house? Who's doing the chores?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, this year, I think one of the reasons why we've had such great success is my parents actually moved to Boulder. And so they had some, due to the pandemic, everyone went through issues. And so my mom lost her job and my dad, his work went remote, and they lived in New York City, worked in Manhattan. They didn't really like their lives. They have been day one, number one fans and supporters of me. And then obviously when Jeannie became part of the family, they absolutely love her. And then, I think they wanted to be more involved. And of course, Boulder's an amazing place to live for many reasons. And I think it offered them an alternative lifestyle they've never been able to have before. But also we got the benefit of having them become a more integral part of the team on the day-to-day basis. So, we'll phone them up when it's like, hey, we need someone to wash the dog. We need someone to get groceries. We need someone to help us.
Yes,
stuff like that.
They're there.
And they're there for us 100%, no questions asked. So that's really been, I think, a big part of Team Metzler being able to take it up a notch this year. But also, I think us kind of finding our feet as a couple, as athletes, and by no means have we made it to like a Tim and Marinda level, but I feel
You're
like
on your way.
We're getting there. And we have them as advisors too, which is really helpful.
What I've really admired is you understand that, hey, in this day and age, you can't just be an athlete. You need to be doing video, you need to heighten your social media reach. I mean, back in the day, Dave Scott or Mark Allen, it was all about winning races, period, end of story. Well, now you have to be an ambassador. You have to be an expert on social media. Yeah. But you seem to really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think I look at it as a necessary part of the business, like you said. And I think when I look at what Jeannie and I do, I really do look at it from a business perspective, and I get excited talking about it. I guess from that angle, because it's kind of a unique way to run the show. We are athletes, but we also have our own brand. We have the brand of our sponsors to look after, and then we've got like an overarching, I guess, like career portfolio that we try to organize and present to the world. And I think you look back and say, all right, what's my job really? And I think your job is to win races, of course. That's what we want to do. But I think a big part of what we have to do is inspire everyone else to get out there, and whether it's to do triathlon, great. If it's to live a healthy lifestyle, if it's to get out the door and go for a walk, if it's to, just go and do something challenging. Right. I think that's part of our job description. I think the great thing about 2021 and the fact that we were in a new age is we've got platforms like YouTube and Instagram and social media to showcase our lives, prove to people that we're no different from anyone else, and that if you put your mind to something, you can kind of accomplish whatever you want.
What I always find, and why I love doing these interviews, is because the average person who's an age grouper thinks, okay, Justin Metzler grew up and he was identified as a pro potential in the sport of triathlon and has been basically had the golden spoon throughout, and they don't realize that they were age groupers. And
for sure.
All of a sudden realize, well, wait a second, maybe I can be good at this. Or when Jeannie came over and didn't have a penny, right? Didn't know, she had nothing in the bank and is writing checks that she knows aren't going to bounce. Yeah. So I think that makes everybody relatable. They understand that you guys you're faster, but you're the same.
Yeah, and I think that's really my message. I think you look at someone like, and no one's had a silver spoon in this sport. I think this is a working man sport. It's a blue collar sport. Blue collar for sure. You've got to put the work in, and you might have athletes with incredible talent who come up and have this like massive ascent. I wouldn't necessarily throw myself in that category. I would say my ultimate potential is probably just as high as anyone else, but it's just going to probably take me a little bit more time to kind of grind away, and all my success has come about just plucking away and not giving up.
Right.
That's it.
So we're here for the fact that both you and Jeannie have made your respective teams, the international and U.S. team, for Collins Cup, the first one. I don't think people are quite grasping that this reminds me of the first ever World Championship in Avignon, France, in 1989. like the first Ironman in 1978. This is a pretty historic event, because it's going to do, already the PTO has done a ton for the sport and to keep people in it. But the worldwide stage that's going to see this on Saturday is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And I think it's the first time that I have felt like a legitimate professional athlete in my career. I think for many, many years there, you spend your time living out of your car. I mean, in 2014, 2015, I had Jeep Liberty that I was kind of living out of more or less, and just driving around the U.S. trying to compete in races. And at that time I was making, 4th, 5th, 6th places, as a rookie pro. I was making maybe $1,000 a race. I remember I made, I think my first pro season, $10,000, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. I did great, Thankfully at the time I still was able to play the, hey, I'm a broke college kid, mom, can I have $200 for groceries card? Yes. But ultimately, there was a tough time there for Jeannie and I where that went away. As a 27-year-old, you can't really ask your parents for money anymore. And although I think if I asked them and I said, hey, I'm in trouble, they would of course be there, like I said, but I didn't. I felt like I had graduated from that phase and I didn't want to go there. And I think there were times where Jeannie and I had negative $2,000 in our bank account, and we had no money to do anything.
Right.
And so now, flash forward 3 years, you've got the PTO who's coming in. You've got both of us obviously being in a position with our racing to be part of these things. And it's the first time where we can pay our bills off triathlon exclusively. So it's really an impressive thing, an impressive feat, and something I've got to pinch myself on, a childhood dream kind of actually coming true of me being a legitimate pro athlete. It's pretty sweet.
So when I look at the pairings, and I was talking to Joe Skipper a little while ago, it's Joe Skipper from the Team Europe, and the international is Jackson Laundry from Canada, and yourself. You guys know, it's not like there's any surprises here. You guys know each other.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this matchup, I've been saying arguably it's the most intriguing of them all. You look at Jackson and myself were the two lowest ranked athletes of the entire field. And you look at Joe Skipper, who's got a very, very high PTO rank, I think world number 6, but he's not necessarily a 70.3 performer. All of his performances come at Ironman. I think he'd admittedly say that, he's an Ironman guy. And so I think Jackson's exclusively a 70.3 guy. Let's call Joe pretty much exclusively an Ironman guy.
And then a little bit of both.
I flop both, right? I've got a deep, deep history of racing 70.3 successfully. And then my record at Ironman is really good.
Yeah, it's getting better too.
Yeah, I mean, with 5, I've done 5 Ironmans and 4 of them have been the top 5. So my rate of success at Ironman has come a lot easier than my 70.3 racing, but I've got that backbone of racing to kind of fall back on. So, and this is also race number 12. So it's going to be the final race of the day. So if we're looking at, potentially this coming down to a point or two, it could potentially come down to me to secure a win or a second place in order to secure a victory or not getting the Broken Spoke trophy, which I know that if you've spoken to any of the U.S. guys, me, Sam Brody, Starkey, Canute, or Hansen, we do not want to go back to the States with that Broken Spoke. We're going to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that we do not get that. And I think a lot of us came in and were, I would say, mostly extrinsically motivated. And now that we have boots on the ground here in Slovakia, it's an internal motivation to really not lose because there's so much confidence coming from the European side.
Oh my God,
we're clear
and with good reason.
Yeah, of course, and I think look at their team. They've got all the world champions on their squad, but I think the decisions aren't made by the books. They're not made by the numbers. And I think one thing that the U.S. team has is a lot of young confidence and a lot of grit and determination to push ourselves absolutely to the max for the team, in addition for ourselves. So
yeah, and what's going to be very interesting because the U.S. used their coaches' picks or their captains' picks on Taylor Knibb and Katie Safara. So you right off the Olympics, silver and bronze medalist and silver medalist, and bringing raw speed to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty close with Taylor Knibb. My wife Jeannie is her main training partner. So I guess socially, I know Taylor quite well. I don't know much about Katie, but what I do know is that Taylor is she's not underrated anymore, but she is probably one of the most talented athletes in any sport that I've ever been around with close contact. Her potential and genetic potential is off the charts, and I think she's got the mindset to back it up. So, yeah, she's got a big task with Daniela Reef. Daniela Reef is the GOAT, you know what I mean? Best of all time to do it. And that's talking about a lot of very, very successful women, Chrissy Wellington, Marinda Carfrae. Daniela Reef is, exactly. You got the real deal in Daniela Reef. So Taylor Knibb's got big shoes to fill, but she also,
she's fearless.
She's fearless, and she's young and dumb, and she's 23 years old, and she doesn't know anything about long course. Although she's a big fan, she doesn't have a lot of experience here.
She's on a road bike.
She's going to go out there, and what I will say is I don't know if I've ever seen someone road bike or not ride a bike the way that she does. So I know Danielle is very, very strong, but Taylor's, I think, got something else, and I'm glad that she's on Team USA.
That's going to be really fun to watch. And that's the thing, is discussion points. Everybody's talking about this, so it's going to be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Taylor in Boulder Half, right? Boulder 70.3, her first 70.3 ever.
Yeah.
She does it off of the Tokyo Olympic Games where she raced, twice.
Twice in a week.
And then, she goes right from there to Boulder, and then right from there to Montreal, and then to Edmonton.
She got second at Montreal, and she wins and ends up
Exactly.
second in the series.
Yeah, so she'd sit here and say, oh, is it maybe one race too far? And I'm like, hey, you strike when the iron's hot. I don't think this is going anywhere.
When you're young like that, she's not getting injured.
Yeah.
Right?
No, she's strong. She's ready to go.
Very cool. Very fun, man. This is going to be the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Is there another match that you're intrigued by?
Yeah.
Maybe that one with that gal Jeannie Metzler going against Annie Hogg and Jackie Herring. That one is pretty fun because you got three great runners.
Three phenomenal runners. And I think when you look at Jeannie, I mean, I can't speak much for Annie or Jackie. I obviously their pedigrees speak for themselves in terms of their running strength. Yeah. But what I do know about Jeannie is that she's just as fearless as anyone else that we've spoken. And I think she's pretty, when you look at her, I guess, in this sort of situation or socially, you might say, hey, she's a little shy, she's a little timid, but she's able to flip a switch on race day. And that's her biggest skill and her biggest talent is to say, I do not want to lose. And she hates losing more than anyone else. And so she's training with the ITU squad now, obviously still focused on long course, but she's doing sessions that these ITU speedsters are doing on the track.
Wow.
And she's keeping up with them, if not beating them on them. So I back her run fitness right now, probably beyond anywhere that she's ever been before. And, she had the 6th fastest ever 70.3 run at Galveston in April. So
15 or something.
Yeah, she just snuck under 115. So 114 and change, I think. So I mean, I don't have to say much about Jeannie. She's an absolute rock star. So that's going to be a battle to watch. And then I guess on the men's side, another interesting matchup to watch would be the one with Sebi, Lionel, and Starkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Starkey was pretty vocal about wanting to make this team, and I think he was frustrated when he didn't initially get in. So I'm glad he's in. Obviously not. I'm upset that Chris couldn't make it, just because Chris is probably equally strong, if not racing stronger right now. But Starkey hasn't raced very much in the last 2 years, and I think he is coming in hot, and he's coming in with a lot of fire.
And he'll outswim both those guys.
100%, yeah. And I think Lionel is. I mean, I saw him limping away. That's kind of how he looks, but
now he's run 2 marathons in a month.
Yeah, it's tough.
2 full Ironmans.
That's a lot of stuff. It's tough, and it's kind of a bummer that we're not going to see him at full strength, right? Just because he's so strong. But then again, I mean, you look at something like Coeur d'Alene, right? Like Lionel was supposed to beat me by a full mile, and that's not exactly how it worked out.
No.
So, and I think that can happen for anyone on this list, right? I mean, obviously we're looking at a standard 100K overall distance, but I think anything can happen on the day, and that's something that, like, for example, Coeur d'Alene taught me. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. I just, as a fan of the sport, now I've told you guys my history.
Yes.
I grew up watching stuff like this and being like, wow, this is amazing. This is so cool. All these athletes are insane. So now I'm pumped I'm here, but I'm also a little bummed I'm not going to be able to watch it live.
Hey, thanks so much for taking time.
For sure.
Justin. Always a pleasure
Thanks
to
for
chat
having me,
with
Bob.
you. All right, Justin Metzler has been our guest again. This Breakfast with Bob from Challenge Championship and Collins Cup. Hold on. We'll be right back.